Today, we're going to be discussing point of view, which once again should be a reminder. There might be a couple new things in here that maybe you just didn't think about the points of view in a certain type of way. So I'm going to try to make it as easy as I can. So let me go to present here. Okay, so with point of view, there are different types, obviously, and we use the narrator's portion of the text in order to determine point of view. So you only look at the narration portions, which means you do not look at words in dialogue. Okay, words in dialogue. Remember that means the words like in parentheses, or excuse me, in quotation marks. All right. So when people are talking to one another, that is not considered. It's the other parts that we're looking at when trying to determine point of view. So there are basically three types. There's first person, right? And if you notice in my diagram, the girl's pointing to herself. She's telling the story, and she's in it. Second person, you notice you are being pointed at in that picture. And then third person is a narrator that's talking about others. So let's look at first person point of view first. The narrator is in the story and refers to him or herself. The narrator often uses words like I, me, we, us, our, my, things like that. I'm going to the park today after school to join in on a game of pickup basketball. Okay. I, obviously, it was in that sentence. And the narrator herself, me, is a member of the story. Okay. Example, look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. My name is Percy Jackson. I'm 12 years old. Until a few months ago, I was a boarding student at Yancey Academy, a private school for troubled kids in upstate New York. Am I a troubled kid? You could say that. Okay, so this is Percy telling his story. And so because we see those pronouns like my and I, we know that it's first person. Moving on to second person. Second person is almost never used in literature, meaning in stories. Second person is when the narrator says you and puts the reader directly into the story, right? So the choose your own adventure stories, those are second person. Directions, recipes, the how-to manuals. You need to do this, then you need to do that. That is all what second person point of view looks like. So an example. There's darkness everywhere. A small amount of light is radiating from the half moon floating in the sky overhead. There are no stars. It is cold and humid. You look around. You look around you and find your friends gone. You are completely alone. So you, as you can see, are basically a character in the story. And so that's written in second person point of view. Third person is when the narrator is telling a story about other people. Narrators will use words such as he, she, him, her, they, them, their, and of course, characters' names. Now, there are three types of third person, and this is where it gets tricky. There's third person omniscient, and I'm going to explain each of these in detail. There's third person limited omniscient, and then there's third person objective. And I think if you look at the pictures that are beside each of these, and that each time I have a slide focused on these three specific kinds, you'll see the coordinating picture with it. The first one, third person omniscient, the word omniscient means all-knowing. Okay, so you see 5 people standing there with thought bubbles above their heads. An omniscient narrator knows all. They can see into the minds of all the characters. Third person limited, then I'm only seeing into the mind of one character or just a couple characters, but certainly not all of them. And then third person objective means I'm only watching and listening. Okay, I can't see into the minds of anyone. It's just like I'm an outsider looking through some binoculars and reporting what I see. All right, so let's get down in a little more detail with omniscient narrator. So an omniscient narrator is a narrator who knows everything that needs to be known about the characters and events in the story, and the narrator who has privileged access to each character's thoughts, feelings, and motives. I know if a character's sad, even if they don't look it on their face. I know if a character is hungry, even if they don't tell me they are, right? Because I'm in their thoughts. So anytime a story says, Jenny was thinking about what she was going to have for dinner. That is me, a narrator, sorry, that's in the mind of one of the characters. This narrator never needs to say, well, maybe they're thinking this, or perhaps they're going to do that. They always know. All right, then we get to the limited narrator. The limited narrator is one who is confined to what is experienced, thought, or felt by a single character, or at most a limited number of characters. They do not seem to be sure of what every character is thinking. And then the objective narrator can only tell you what can be seen or heard. They cannot know anyone's thoughts or feelings. So we're all objective observers. We can tell others what we see or hear, and we can guess at someone's thoughts, but we cannot know what they are thinking unless they tell us. And so you can kind of remember that when you're trying to determine if something is written in objective point of view. All right, so let's read each. I have a few passages embedded on these slides. Let's read them and then try to determine whether the passage is omniscient, limited omniscient, or objective. Lily shivered and sobbed while sitting alone under the tree. Jacob felt a pang of pity for her, and though he worried what the others might say, he walked to her, sat beside her, and offered her his jacket. Now, as I'm trying to figure out which of the third persons this is, number one, I know it's not first person. That's why it's not even an option, because there's no I, me, we, none of that. And nor is it second person, because you, the reader, are not a character within it. Okay? So then kind of go sentence by sentence. Lily shivered and sobbed while sitting alone under the tree. Would I know that if I were just watching? Do I have to be in Lily's mind to know that? No, I could see her shivering. I could see and hear her sobbing. And I could certainly see her sitting alone under the tree. Okay? So the first sentence is objective. Now, let's look at the next one. Jacob felt a pang of pity for her, and though he worried what the others might say. Would I know that just by looking at Jacob? Or do I have to be in his head to know that he's feeling a pang of pity, to know that he's worried about what others might say? Okay, yeah, I have to be in his mind to know that. Okay, and so am I in Lily's mind? No. Am I in Jacob's mind? Yes. So I'm in one character's mind. That makes it limited omniscient. Next one. Lily shivered and sobbed while sitting alone under the tree. So same start. We know that part's objective, right? We know that I can see and hear that happening. I don't need to be in Lily's mind. Let's keep going. Jacob gazed at her with a stare suggestive of pity, and his lips tightened as though he debated something of importance. Okay? Am I in his mind there? Jacob gazed at her with a stare that's suggestive of pity. I'm explaining that he looked at her kind of like he was pitying her. I saw his lips tighten. Okay. He gave a timid glance back at the others. Would I know that just by watching him? He gave a timid glance back. And then he walked boldly over to Lily. I could see him doing that. He sat beside her. I could see him doing that, and offered her his jacket. I could see that happening. So do I need to be in the mind, or am I in the mind of either Lily or Jacob? Or would I just be able to see and hear everything that was explained here? The right answer is objective. With this one, I can just see and hear everything that was being explained. I didn't need to be in Lily's mind to know that she was shivering and sobbing, and I certainly didn't need to be in Jacob's mind to do all of the things that he did. I can just be watching and tell that. All right, next. Lily shivered and tried unsuccessfully not to sob while sitting alone under the tree. She was more embarrassed and miserable than she had ever been. Would I know that? Would I know this is the most embarrassed she's ever felt if I were just looking at her? Or would I have to be in her mind to know that? Yeah, I'd have to be in her mind. Jacob felt a pang of pity, and he worried what the others might say. Do I need, once again, to be in Jacob's mind to know he's feeling pity and that he's worried about what the others might say? Yes, so I'm in Lily's mind to know that she's the most embarrassed she's ever been, and I'm in Jacob's mind to know that he's feeling pity and that he's worried about what the others might say. So I'm in both characters' mind making it omniscient, all-knowing. All right, Lily shivered and sobbed while sitting alone under the tree. Jacob felt a pang of pity for her. So there I'm in Jacob's mind again, right? He gave a timid look back to the others. They were playing keep away with the small boy's wallet. He could not tell if any of them were paying attention to him now. Regardless, he went to Lily, sat beside her, and offered her his jacket. Am I in Lily's mind here? Am I in the other boys who were playing keep away with the small boy's wallet? Or would I know they were playing keep away just by watching them from a distance, perhaps? Yeah, I could tell that just by watching. So here, whose mind am I in? Lily's, Jacob's, the boys? None of them. If you said that, we would just be in Jacob's mind, you would be correct. So the answer would be limited. I'm in the mind of one character or just a couple. Okay, so that's the practice. You will find in Schoology an assignment where you're going to be given 10 excerpts from different passages, much like we just did. And you will, they're set up as multiple choice, and you're going to practice identifying point of view on your own. Feel free to refer back to this slideshow with the definitions. I think the first thing that you need to do is determine whether it's first person, second person, or third person. Start there. If it's third person, then you have to determine, are you in the mind of everyone? Meaning it's omniscient. Are you in the mind of one character? Meaning it's limited. Or are you just reporting what you're seeing and hearing? You're not in anyone's mind. If that's the case, then it's objective. Good luck on your assignment today.